Hello, welcome to another video from BetfairTradingCommunity.com. I've switched sides, I know. It might be a bit disorientating, but I need this side to show you something I'm going to show you in this spreadsheet. So today we're actually going to look at how we split test strategies. And specifically, I'm going to look at whether starting at the start of the season games are worth trading or not. And kind of get into somehow I'm testing this at the moment and some data. So this is actually going to be a really good learning video. If you're interested in learning about trading, on a topic you're probably not going to see anywhere else. I've not seen anyone do any training on this. I know everything on YouTube and stuff tends to be strategies or live trading. We do a lot of that as well, but I also want to train you in these areas that you might not hear about, and that's what we're going to do today. So if you come over to this spreadsheet here, as you can see on your screen, this is a strategy that myself and Ryan have been testing out on football, basically trying to find value in the over 2.5 goals market. Now, we decided we were going to start a really raw strategy, really raw data set. We're not going to do any filtering to it. We're just going to basically have the spreadsheet tell us, and it tells us here whether something's a bet or not. I've removed the ones that aren't bets, so you won't see those at the moment. And the good thing with that is that it means that we can test it against other things as we go. So we got about, I think when I was around halfway through the data set, actually I've got the number here, I'll have a quick look. 1,177. So yeah, when we had just over 1,000 results, I decided to look into a bit more depth at what was working and what wasn't. One thing I noticed was that odds of 2.10 were performing better than odds on shots on this. Kind of makes sense, right? Higher odds, potentially you're getting better value. If you've got a strategy that's showing you good selections, well, the higher the odds they are, perhaps the better they can be. And that was what was panning out at that point. Now, I do want to have a look at this again when I get past 2,000 results, which isn't going to be long. We're almost at 2,000 results. And also, I want to take some of the European leagues more into account. And obviously, they've only just kicked off. So I definitely want to get a lot more data on this set. I'm going to do a few more update videos on these as well, potentially in the future, which will be cool. But today, I want to focus on whether you should trade at the start of a football season, because obviously the season's just started. So what I did was I thought, I've been saying for a long time, we shouldn't trade, the first couple of games. Let them warm up, let them get into the season, because what I was finding on my strategies was that there was a wild variance at the start of the season. A lot of teams just weren't going. I mean, I'll give you a good example of this. If you remember it, first day of the season, Palace played Chelsea. And that was 0-0. And yet you just felt like if those two teams were playing the season before, mid-season, there's no chance that game ends 0-0. The amount of attacking players on the show, the fact that Chelsea scored in, I think, every home game except one the season before, all these factors you could look at. But because at the start of the season, it was quite clear this game just isn't the way this is going to pan out in general. So anyway, that aside, my opinion on it doesn't really matter. What matters is the data. So I decided to look at what the differences could be. Now, as you can see here, we've been running this strategy, nearly 2,000 results, £10 stakes. It's currently £3 up, £300 up, which is cool. Obviously, 33 points profit there. But since I did the split, it's actually down. Now, this is interesting, right? So we know that since 1,000 results are down. What happened around the 1,000 result time? Let's have a little look. Oh, the start of the season for the European leagues. So where you get most of your selections throughout the year. The season started and suddenly the strategy has gone down and it's lost 17 points. So it was actually at around £500 profit, okay? It did have a little initial bump actually in the first weekend or so, but it's then taken a dive. So I thought, well, the obvious thing that seems like the reason that could be is that it's the start of season matches, that they don't work particularly well. But I wanted to actually get that into some data here. I didn't want this to just be like, well, we'll look through this and go, okay, that's definitely the case. So what I did was I split the results up into odds of 2.1 plus. Okay, so now I'm looking at the results of 2.1 plus since the split, and you can see here that the results are 68 point loss, Okay, £68 loss, so 6.8 points actually, around 7 bets down. Okay, now we go back to here, this is 17 bets down. So that makes quite a difference, right? That's showing us that actually, yeah, the 2.1 odds have performed a lot better. Obviously not in profit, but given how much the over 2.5 data has struggled, that's actually quite a significant improvement. But what I really want to get into is, well, we've got the 2.1 odds now, but what about the matches of those? Because this is already slightly improved, but what about the matches of those where I only look at leagues that have played 8 games or more that season? And this is where it gets really interesting to me. So in the same period, since that split happened, where one strategy's lost 170, the other's lost 60, this has actually made 6 points profit. Okay? So going through a really tough run for the strategy just by eliminating, and this isn't back testing, we'd already eliminated it, we've just forward tested this. We've got nearly 200 results here. I do want more data on this, and as I say, I will keep updating this. But it's interesting, right? Because it clearly seems to show that there's either one or two things that's happened here. That the leagues in the summer just perform better for this strategy, could be the case. Or that the start of season games are what's hampered the strategy when it struggled. So really interesting, right? And that's something that I definitely want to keep testing moving forward. But if anything, this is some evidence, and granted, I do want more data, so I'm not saying this isn't the scientific kind of finished article, but this is some evidence that those early season games are as wild in variance as I expected, are difficult to trade, and actually it's better to wait till later in the season before you start trading them. But what I want you to do, because look, at the end of the day, we're here to train you, okay? Whether my strategy does well or not, really, obviously if this keeps doing well and I get tons of data, I will share this with you. But at this point, you're working on your own strategies, you want to work on those. I want you to start thinking about testing things like this, and the reason is that I've also got a leagues one, and I'll do another video on this, but I've also been testing the leagues against this as well. And we'll see how that's fared. But why I want you to do this is that it's not actually that difficult. Okay, all you have to do when you get into the Betfair trading community software is change up the original filter a little bit. So I call it super over 2.5 goals. I've still got the original filter, but to add odds of 2.1 plus, all I have to do here is change this filter here from 1.09 to obviously 2.1, okay, greater than or equal to. So this is exactly the stat I want. And the key here is to click update, okay, so I'm updating it, and then give it a name. I'm just going to call this XYZ because it's an example, but give it a name. So you could call it over 2.5 goals, 2.0 or something, or 2.1 odds plus, then click save new, and that creates a new one. You don't lose your original filter. Okay, and what's cool with this is I called it super over 2.5 goal odds 2.1 plus. But what's cool is that you now get these selections as well. When you export all the data, it will all come in. Now, when you go to your sheet, it's really easy because as I'm collecting the results for the over 2.5 data, well, all the results I need are going to be in the 2.1 odds plus one because it's the same matches, just narrowed down. So I can then look, once I've input the results here, I can then look at this sheet on a different screen and pick the two and go, okay, there was 4 goals in that match, 3 goals in that match. It's actually pretty simple. It doesn't take that much longer than just inputting the results into my original sheet. And that's why split testing can be so valuable. So if you're not split testing or it's not something you've done, because I get people email me and they'll say, oh, I'm following this strategy and it's not doing well. And I'll say, are you just blanket following it? Are you doing any filtering? Are you looking into the matches any further? No, I'm not. Okay. Is there anything you've noticed in the data? Is there an odds range that's obvious to you that these odds seem to be working, these odds don't? Or are there leagues, like over 2.5 goals? I'm not in love with Argentina. I'm not in love with South Africa. There's lots of leagues I would like to eliminate eventually. Haven't eliminated them yet. But this is the beauty of testing. I can get that data set to make sure that those things don't work before I look at creating a filter to get rid of them in the future. but I'm still testing my original data set. You notice that? Yeah? I might have these other things I'm testing along the bottom here, but guess what? This original data set is key. It's the king. I'm still testing this. I'm still working through it because I want to make sure any tweaks or changes I make are definitely for the better and not just back fitted. Okay. And that's a trap a lot of people fall into. So yeah, I know a bit more of a learning video we've done today. Guys, if you want some strategies, we have some free strategies we can give you. Just say the word free in the comments. I'll send those over to you. If you want to try us out, we're half price for the first month. So just head over to betfairtradingcommunity.com and check us out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Keep watching the video, subscribe, like, comment if you've enjoyed the video. Do all those good things. And that gives me an encouragement to keep doing them. And hopefully you've enjoyed a bit more of an in-depth look at trading, kind of learning beyond, you don't see videos like this. I know it's really easy to just go and do a strategy video or a live trading video and people will go and watch it. But what I really want people to do is plug in, learn these little details and really learn how to separate yourself from the other traders out there on Betfair. Have a good week.